Gun safety advocates Mark Kelly and former Congresswoman Gabby Giffords rolled out a new bipartisan coalition last week. The goal, tightening up Arizona's gun laws, some of the loosest in the country. I talked with Mark Kelly after the news conference about what his group can accomplish in a pro-gun state like Arizona and with a president like Donald Trump, who's already expanding Second Amendment rights. I also asked Kelly whether he and Giffords might try to take down Senator Jeff Flake, a close friend who's voted for gun bills they oppose. Here's an edited version of our conversation.
This isn't really about, gun ownership for responsible people. The stuff that we advocate for is keeping guns out of the hands of felons, domestic abusers, people who are dangerously mentally ill, people who are suspected terrorists. But yeah, to be honest, Arizona is a bit trickier than doing these things in like the state of Oregon or Washington or other places.
So how do you get things done when you have a solid Republican Capitol? You've talked about going to the voters. Is that the only way you can hope to change gun laws?
I don't think it's the only way. No, going to the voters isn't the only way, and it's not our first choice. We have a government and we have a legislature and we have a governor, for a reason. Government is really important. I'm a big supporter of our state government.
As Republican as they are, with all the
right.
pro-gun bills they put up year after year.
Yes.
Big supporter.
I'm a big supporter of government in general. I'm not one of these people. You have people we often elect to government that are anti-government, which makes no sense to me at all. You see that in Washington, D.C. You also see it in a lot of state capitals. People that fundamentally don't believe in government. I believe in government. Now, I also realize that, the government that's elected might not always do what's in the best interest of, the people that elect them. And it's our job to convince them otherwise.
Well, Congresswoman Giffords clashed with Donald Trump during the campaign.
If you look back before he was running for office, when he was, Donald Trump, the private citizen, not running for president. When you look back there and you look at his views on this issue, he's probably somewhere to the left of me on this issue, right? I feel I'm pretty moderate. I'm a gun owner. I don't live in New York City. I live here in Arizona. I'm a strong supporter of the Second Amendment.
So he was to the left of you back then. Where is he now?
It's kind of hard to tell, right? Sometimes he might, he often talks about, the bullets going in the opposite direction. He talked about, after the Pulse nightclub shooting, everybody in that nightclub should have had a gun. You know who came out against that statement? The National Rifle Association. The next day said, it's probably not a good idea. At the same time, when you talk about terrorists getting access to firearms, he says we should do something about that. So, I certainly would love to, work with him and his administration, figure out how do we get a bill through the House and the Senate and to his desk that takes somebody who is on the terrorist watch list, who can't get on an airplane, a suspected terrorist. Let's prevent them from walking into a gun store and buying a gun. I think it's something that they haven't yet focused on. I certainly am concerned. I've got a lot of concerns that the priorities that the gun lobby has with regards to concealed carry reciprocity and making silencers readily available to the public. And their third top priority seems to be getting rid of gun-free zones in schools. I'm concerned that these bills will get through the House very easily, and then we'll get through the Senate and we'll get to his desk and he will sign them. So that is a concern of mine. So, but I would say we don't know yet.
You've talked about an organization with money that know well this is a political campaign. Would you use some of that money against Jeff Flake in his campaign next year?
Everybody who is up, both Democrats and Republicans, are always on our radar. We've got 2 years to figure this out. We don't make these kind of decisions. But, when we evaluate, where we're going to spend our resources, we certainly take a close look at what our legislative priorities were, who we couldn't convince that this is the right thing to do, not only for the American people, but for the constituents in their state. We look at that, and I will guarantee you we'll look at his race, 100%.
Every 2 years, for the last few years, your name comes up as a potential candidate for Congress. Is that something you've ever considered? Would you consider it, or is it entirely off the table?
I can tell you this, every time somebody says it to me, I do consider it, right? So I get asked all the time.
So you just considered it right now?
I considered it right when you said it. We have helped pass over 100 pieces of legislation around the country, and we're saving people's lives every day. We're not going to meet them because they're not going to get shot. They're not going to get injured. They're not going to get killed. But the work we do is incredibly important. and I want to keep doing it.